I must say, the audio only thing, it's growing on me. No, I think
I don't have the bandwidth to even do video.
really.
That's another, yeah. No, it would kill the VPN for sure.
So where in the world are you? I always assumed that you were in Hong Kong. Is that incorrect?
I'm in Shenzhen.
Oh, okay. Oh, right in the center of all the madness. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's like the tech center, isn't it? I mean, someone told me that's
Yeah.
like Silicon Valley, basically.
Parts of it. Yeah, parts of it
Yeah,
are.
yeah. I mean,
I don't
all
live in
the
the parts that are.
okay, okay, cool.
It's important to know that I don't live in those parts.
Okay, cool. All right, but no, but that's exciting. I mean, all the sort of tech companies that I have dealt with over the years, because I was also heavily into FPV drones and all that, and they were all coming from there. So yeah, it's an exciting part of the world.
Yeah, DJI has I think they have offices close to where I live. There
Oh,
are
really?
yeah, there's like
That's
a the biggest tech company that I think is close to me are like smart car companies, but they're not popular outside of China, but they're
I
big
see.
here.
Yeah. Okay. Mm. Yeah, I've been in contact with a few sort of fringe tech companies over the years, and it's I don't know, it's quite interesting to see what like there's these tiny. That's what I find fascinating about that part of the tech world is there's these like tiny random companies making little things, and they make a living out of it. It's like this little action camera that they make for again the FPV drones, and it's pretty crappy actually to be honest with you compare it to like a like a GoPro, but they find a little niche in the market and they just hammer away at it, and they've been going for like 12 years and they're still selling their little action cameras. So yeah, I
What's the
find
name
it
of the company?
Hawkeye. What's they've got like two names. It's a double barrel, but the cameras are all under the brand Hawkeye. They're very small. I think it's a group of like 10 guys making these cameras.
It has like gyro function and stuff like that, or it's just like a
Yes.
GoPro.
Yeah, yeah. So we're getting into the weeds of like something that has nothing to do with anything, but what happened a while back was I think some devs got irritated with GoPro and they built something called Gyro Flow, and it's an independent, free, open source gyro software that you put on your phone or your laptop, and then any company like Hawkeye, they can put the gyro information into the camera. So it's way less like development. Like they don't have to do much except just put the information in the camera, and so then you can just plug that into your gyro flow program, and then you get nice stable footage. So that like was quite revolutionary for these little companies because now they could compete with GoPro with like I say, pretty shitty cameras.
I have yet to use any kind of drone at all.
Oh,
It
really?
got popular when I was here, but I've just never
Yes.
had time to.
Okay.
Yeah. And I go by DJI like stores and you can test it out,
Mm.
but I'm always like too busy to try it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But when I see the footage that people do where I live, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
it can fly that high? That's like way too high. Like
Yeah.
flying over mountains, but they're on
Yeah.
the floor. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I've been in it for years. Like that. That's how my YouTube channel started. I was heavily into drones, but the community was so toxic. I mean, I was chatting to someone about it yesterday. I shouldn't have quit. I just gave up. Like the guy, like I was busy. I was one of the testers for one of the companies. They were called Hubson. They're still going, but they were like that. This was in their heyday. They were making toy GPS drones, and I started to test their drones, and the guy in charge of it was just such an asshole. And then I had a guy in America who was like boycotting me. It was horrible. It was a horrible, horrible community to be involved in, and so I just bailed. But yeah, I still love the drones.
Do those companies still make stuff now?
Hubson does, yeah. They still do little GPS drones, but I don't know how they keep going because they're competing with DJI, and I mean, you can't compete with DJI. They are just the best. Um, that's kind of where I lost interest with Hubson because I was like, well, my DJI is not too much more money and way better. So, and I'm a videographer, so for me the camera quality was the most important thing. Yeah. So that's where DJI, I think that's where they won. Was, I mean, they just are, I mean, they make amazing drones, but in the beginning the reason they took off so well is because they focused so heavily on their cameras.
Filming.
Yeah, and the camera quality for, I mean, they still struggle to compete with GoPro with the actual action cameras, but their drone footage rivals the GoPro. Because GoPro tried to enter the drone markets, and DJI has tried to enter into the action camera market, but they've both failed. Which is
they both
interesting.
failed.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, okay. We're talking about me now. Let me do like a little intro, and then we'll just jump in. I'll ask you a bunch of questions, and we'll just basically have a chat. You know, I don't know how much you've seen of me and what I've been doing, but the podcast really is more of like a behind the scenes with popular gamers and gaming YouTubers and all that sort of things. Hey everyone, thanks so much for checking out the podcast. Today is a little bit different, as you can see, because it is audio only, and I have the guest to thank for that, Taki. Thanks so much for agreeing to do this. I think I'm kind of convinced of this audio only thing. So thanks so much for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Yeah, so this is a retro gaming podcast, so everyone's going to know who you are, but give us a little intro of what you do.
So I started out a little over 5 years ago doing reviews of handhelds. And at that time, the market was like much smaller than it is now. There are only a handful of companies.
Yeah.
Recently, I don't have time too much for doing that stuff. For the last year or so, I've been cutting down on the devices that I film videos for or that I talk about, because most of my time now is just going towards building products and then shipping the products under a new company that I started earlier in the year.
Yes. So that is the part that is still a bit of a mystery to me. My friend Shem at Retro Breeze, he's got a YouTube channel and he is loving your work, like what you're up to. But I am a bit less on the technical side. So every time you make because I follow you on Twitter and I check out, what's Taki up to, but I have absolutely no idea what you are doing. So let's jump in right there. Let's talk about exactly what you're doing. I know you've always loved making content about the Switch and modding the Switch and all that sort of thing. And I know that's one of the things you're doing, but it seems like there's a few technical things that you're creating. So what are the products that you've developed so far?
We have a product right now that's currently sold out, but the first product that we did was an FPGA gaming console built off of another one that already existed, but it was too expensive. So we did a mass market version of that one to lower the price, to make it more approachable. And that started selling at the end of August, the beginning of September, but it sold out because we didn't make enough for how many people wanted it. We are getting ready to do the second batch soon. Every day, you can usually find like people that are asking me like, when is it going to drop? When is it going to drop? And that's just coming up very soon. And besides that, we're doing an OLED screen for the Switch Lite that's currently selling, and it's supposed to ship very soon. And then there's different versions of that are shipping even into next month. And then we have another version of that for the regular Switch that also has an OLED screen. And then after that, we have many gaming consoles that are almost here. This should be here in December, late November. And then we have some handhelds. We have a lot of stuff. It's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that's why I've been uncertain exactly what it is, because you have been doing so much. So this one that I've just pulled up on Twitter is the Mr. Pi. Is that the gaming console?
Yeah, that's the like stripped down version of the consoles that we're going to make. This one was just meant to be like a drop-in. It's not technically a drop-in because we improved some things that the original board had, but that is the product that exists because we decided that we wanted to do gaming consoles. So we prototyped with that first, and then I was like, this is good enough to sell as the standalone product. So I figured we would just make a small batch of them and sell it while we were working on our other stuff, but it ended up being way more popular than I thought it was going to be.
Well, these are good problems to have, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that's actually, I mean, now that even that little explanation, it's pretty intriguing. Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in looking at that. I've always wanted some sort of console that I can set up on the TV, but I just can never find something that kind of hits the mark. And so I think that's obviously why this is popular, because you've made it like one, affordable, and then two, compact. So that's really cool.
It used to be affordable a long time ago, but when it was affordable, it couldn't do that much. And then it slowly started gaining more functionality and being more useful, but it also increased in price drastically during that time.
Okay.
So when I finally wanted to take a look at it, it was like twice the price that it was several years ago. And it can do a lot, but I was like, I don't know if I can swing $200 to
Yeah.
225 to 250 just to get it in my hands here.
Sheesh.
I was like,
Okay.
that's kind of ridiculous, because it started out just a bit higher than $99. So
Yeah, that's a big jump.
that's a huge price jump.
Mm.
You get something for it, but it's harder to justify. The bad thing about it is it kind of took on like an elitist product. It became like an elitist product because it was something good, but you wouldn't know that it was good unless you tested it and you had experience with cheaper stuff, because it is better than cheaper things. It plays games better than, the typical handhelds that I would review. The latency is better. It has a lot more features. The accuracy is way better.
Yeah.
But if it's $200, I mean, that's a hard conversation to have with somebody. Now it's way more approachable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay. Is it just while we're on it? I mean, is there how far developed are you in terms of the public appearance of your website? Of your business? Do you have a website that I can point people to?
yeah, we have a website.
Okay, cool. I'll put the link in the description below. That's so cool, Taki. That's great. So, I mean, following you over the years as a YouTuber, you've always had one foot in the door in terms of the development of products. It just makes sense that you are going this route.
I worked in the industry for several years before this, but this is way different because now I actually own the company and I'm responsible for way more things. So it is, I'm more busy now than I have ever been before in my life. And when I was working in the industry a few years before this, I had multiple jobs that I was doing at the same time. And I thought I was busy at that time, but I had 3 jobs when I was doing that. And I would typically wake up at like 6 a.m. for work. And then I would go to my first job, then get out. Then I would go to my second job and I would finish sometimes at like 1 a.m. It wouldn't be uncommon. And I was also doing YouTube, but I don't include YouTube as a job, but I was also doing YouTube at that time. So I thought this isn't healthy to do. I would not recommend anybody to do that, but I thought I was very busy at that time. Way worse now.
Yeah, man. Welcome. Talking to you in the last couple of days, I realize you are an incredibly busy guy, but welcome to business ownership. But I think it's on a whole nother level for you. It's a bit crazy, but it's paying off, and it is going to pay off. Yeah, this Mr. Pi looks so cool. So what capacity were you in previously? So you say you had 3 jobs. So what were you doing?
So only one of those jobs I want to talk about, or that I feel comfortable talking about, the one that's related to what I do. So for 3 years, I worked as, my official title at that time was Chief Design Officer. So I was it's basically the same thing as being a Chief Product Officer. You just design the products and you do everything that's involved in product development, anything that's even remotely related to the production or customer service or anything that deals with the products. And then I would have the person that would do the technical side would be the CTO. And then we had a boss that was above us. And I did that for 3 years and it was fun. And then I had never done anything like that before. And I had a lot of fun with it. And then it got to a point where it wasn't fun anymore. So I had to leave. I took about a 1-year break before starting the current company that I have now.
That is interesting, because was having a YouTube channel about products and then being the chief product designer, was that a difficult road to walk?
No, I had a really good, and I think that I'm going to follow this with my current company.
Mm-hmm.
The closest analogy that I have to this is like Linus. Linus has ownership in a laptop company, but he reviews laptops,
Yes.
so it's kind of like that. So right now I don't make gaming handhelds, but it's a potential that I will at one point make gaming handhelds again. And
Yes.
at that point, it will be a situation where I will not be able to really give my opinions about stuff. But as long as I can keep things objective, that's why a few
Yeah.
months ago I did a video talking about something that had happened with an Ambernick product and how
Yes,
their
I
product
remember
got
something.
worse after it launched. So I came up with a set of criteria that I was going to use to evaluate things objectively when I couldn't give my opinion. And that includes for my own products. Like I know
Okay.
everything about my products. I know my opinions about my products. I know what is good and bad about them. But I can always just give the exact, like, it does this, it can't do this, it passes this test,
Yeah.
it doesn't pass this test. You can repeat all of these yourself. You will get the same thing that
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Mm.
If you want more, that is your jump off point. If I was to make an Android handheld now, and this is not in the cards, but
Yeah.
if I was, then I would have to say I make a product that is in this category. If I was to do a review about another company's product,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably just focus on those objective things, but also say I make a product that is in this category. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm just in FPGA, but I anticipate that I will probably make videos about other FPGA products that I don't make. Like there's a company that made the FPGA Game Boy Color. So if this company makes another
Okay.
FPGA system and it's not one that I would make, then I would say, these guys make FPGA products. I also have a company that makes FPGA products, but I do not have a product in this category at all.
Yes, you can make disclaimers like that. It is a
Because
tough road
I
to
still
walk.
like the products and I still will buy those products. It's not just because I have my own company that my stuff is the only thing that's worth
Yeah,
buying.
yeah, I get it. I get it. I think so that's the sort of difficult part of the YouTube channel, but the positive of it is people know you and they know that you are passionate and you've been passionate consistently for years about these products. And so they know that, Taki didn't just wake up one day, start a company, and then start a YouTube channel and start like slamming at the products. That's not who you are. So that is the nice part of it.
I had a lot of leeway with the position that I had last time. Like I could say bad things about my own company's products and it was fine.
Yes.
And I did that frequently because we would do things that I thought were wrong, and they still do things that I think are wrong now. It's just a bit more complicated to say that because I'm not involved in it.
Yes,
But
yes.
if we did something and I felt like it was fucked up or it was bad to the user, then I would stand on the side of the user, and it would make things kind of difficult because the same people would see that I just like shit on us publicly. But that was the arrangement that I had. So
Yeah.
it wasn't it. I don't know that somebody else has done something in that way. I don't think that you would ever be able to get that kind of leeway to be able to do that, to be able to publicly say,
Yeah.
this company is not doing what they should be doing, or they fell short in this way.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to do it, but
Yeah.
I could.
That's fascinating, man. Wow. Because I think I have a bit of an idea of what it might be or who it might be and all that, but it's so interesting to hear that. And it kind of sucks that you can't be like completely open cards about it because I don't know. I think the whole story is just so fascinating, especially for people who were invested in that situation. It's not easy.
No. But I like the way that things are now. It's the biggest difference is now that I am the face of the company.
Yes.
I own the company, but I still will not, if my company does something bad, I will be the first person to say what we are doing is wrong. Just recently, the biggest example of this happened last month or the month before that. We were making, so the product that we have has some open source hardware elements to it. There are creators that like this platform and they designed boards for this product and they are open hardware. And we can produce based on the permissions that are set out in the in the creator's work, they allow you to use it for commercial purposes. So, but what I never wanted to do was remove any credit from what somebody did.
Yeah.
That is my line in the sand. I will never try to steal or not give credit to somebody that did something, because it really sucks to not be able to take credit for something that you have legitimately done for whatever reason. So we, at one point, were going to make basically there's a card that goes on this board that you need to use to be able to run some certain systems like Game Boy Advance or PlayStation, stuff like that. It's a memory module. And at one point in time, we were not going to use the open source version of this module. We were going to make our own, and we were going to make some improvements to it.
Okay.
And the version that I had tested for months was the improved version that was basically a fork. So what I told the team, and the team is still currently very small, but what I told them is, as long as we do not change anything in the hardware, we must keep everything as it is. So if they have silk screen that says who made it, we have to keep that there. We cannot change anything. But if we make a change to it, any kind of change, we can remove their silk screen, but we cannot remove their credits. If they delivered something to us, like if they gave the drawings for it and they gave the production files, we have to do the same thing, because we basically just forked their version. We used what they provided and we modified it. So in the spirit of open source, we should give that freely out to anybody else to benefit from what we did to it. So that is what we were going to do. But that's not what happened.
But there's a twist.
Essentially what happened, and sometimes it doesn't, like, the difficult thing about this is, like, some people want to know, like, when things go wrong, and sometimes it's not productive to say something, because, like, you'll hurt somebody's feelings. Or if I know somebody on my team did something wrong and they know that they did something wrong, me publicly saying it doesn't do anything at all. Doesn't they already know what they did. It's not the same as, like, in the past when my company was doing something wrong and I would point out, actually in that time they thought that what they were doing was correct. So it's a completely different situation. But in this situation, the version that we had forked did not get into mass production. We actually produced the original one. And the reason why we produced the original one is there was some test that they did someday that I wasn't involved in. And they said, the original one is better in this specific use case, so it's safer for us to produce the original one, which is fine.
Yeah.
But what they did is they removed the silk screen of the original author that made the board, and they replaced it with the product name, which is Mr. Pi.
Yes.
So when I got it back, we had already mass produced this board. So I'm getting back the retail sample. I had already photographed this entire board, like so this is what my day was like.
Yeah.
I got the boards. I photographed them in the office. I took the boards home to my home office, and I was making a video to show people how to assemble the entire thing. And at some point in the video, I'm looking at the label. And at this point, I had already looked at the label a lot, but I wasn't, like, really studying the label. And I'm looking at the label, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, because this doesn't look like my other version. Because I was, at that point in the video, I was talking about, this is what our original one looked like, and this is what our one looked like. And I was like, wait, this looks exactly like the one that was the open source design, but it doesn't have the label on the back.
Yes.
So the funny thing is, like, I record my audio in my studio when I'm filming, and I'm basically swearing at that point, because there's no going back from that point. We had already produced this. So I was really pissed, because we took off his entire credit. There's no way for this author to get any recognition for what he did. And we are only able to do this product because of his work.
Yeah.
So I made a video on Twitter, and I basically shit on my own company. I said, I'm not going to sell this because this is wrong. This is my line in the sand. I do not want to do this. There are a lot of grifters in this market that are doing this, and I don't want to do this. I want to leave this place better than it was when I got here. Wow. And this is not what I want to do.
That is rough, man.
We were ready to ship this. Everything was ready. And this was like, I had to pull the brakes on it. And now I'm in a position, before I could also do this, I could also put the brakes on it. But one time I couldn't put the brakes on it. But now I can always put the brakes on it, which is why I wanted to have ownership of this. Because if something is wrong, I want to be in a position where I can take the monetary loss to make it right.
You
So
can steer
in
the
this
ship.
situation,
Yeah.
we were going to destroy the boards, which is, environmentally wasteful.
Yeah.
But we ended up finding out that we could do a sticker that we could put on and it would add the attribution back. And then
Okay.
we would just need to do them all by hand. So the original person that did this in my company, he did some of them by hand. He did like 200 of them by hand, but we needed to do 4,000. So
Yeah.
he did 200. So he already knows like what he did was wrong.
Yeah.
And we sent the other amount back to the factory for them to do the rest.
Okay.
And
so
now
that was punishment. Sit in the corner and do 200 stickers.
And I don't think that will ever happen again. That should not ever happen again. So that was basically just the cost of doing business,
Yeah. Sure.
It shouldn't
that's
happen.
Crazy. Yeah. But I mean, this industry and where you're living, there's a lot of bad stories where that has happened, and so if, if you want to change that and you want to draw a line in the sand and say, we just can't do this anymore, and then that's great.
And there's the connotation that all Chinese companies will steal stuff. And obviously my company is a Chinese company. I'm not Chinese. My employees and my coworkers are Chinese.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we are always doing things that are above board.
Yeah.
Because I don't want whatever we do just to be reduced down to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like this company can only steal the work of others to do products. And there are companies that do that.
Yep.
And I never want to be that one. I never want anything that we ship to be shipping copyright material. Like that was a big thing in the work that I did previously. I said, if our products are not good enough to sell themselves without this, then they don't need to exist. They should be good enough in their own right without you having to include 10,000 games for free to make them worth it for someone to buy.
Oh, good on you, man. All right. So switching gears, I don't know what your answer to this question is, but very related to what you just said. But do you have any pets?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have 3 cats. So
cool.
They're all rescues. I started out with, so I live in a small community that has many apartment buildings, and about a year and 4 months ago, there was a cat that was on its deathbed outside next to a trash can.
Yeah.
And it had a brother that was there too, where I just assumed that it was a brother. It was about the same age. And this one, I was like, well, I can't just leave it here. So I'm just gonna like rescue this cat.
Yeah.
My wife originally didn't want me to take this cat. She was like very against it. She was like, I'm going to just be wasting money to bring it back to life. And I said, well, I'm not going to be able to live with myself if I just let this cat die. So I paid for a veterinarian to bring it back from the brink of death and fix its eye and stuff. And then he came back with us. And this cat is like the most loyal animal I've ever had in my life. We have like an insane bond. I had COVID like maybe 6 months after I had him, and he stayed in the bed next to me the entire time that I was sick. He's never done it since. But the entire time I was sick, he stayed right next to me. Whenever I like in my studio or in my room or in my bedroom, he will try to like, he can open up the door by like jumping and hanging on the handle and then open it up and then just like run to be next to me.
Wow.
So I love this cat. He's really nice. About like a year after that, I ended up being able to rescue his brother that was left in a clinic after he was like, I actually got his brother.
Yes.
So the first cat's name is Peanut and his brother's name is Cookie. Just 2 months ago, I was riding on my e-bike with my son, and we were riding by this main road, and I just heard like a little cat, like very loud. And I was like, what's going on? It sounds like it's coming from the engine of this car. And there was like an SUV, and there was a small baby cat that was underneath it. And I was like, this cat's it's going to die, because it was like emaciated.
Yeah.
And it was maybe just like a few weeks old. So I was like, okay, I have to try to get this cat. And I tried to go get it, but it jumped in the engine. So I was like, oh, fuck, now I really have to get this cat, because if the engine goes on, this cat's going to die.
Literally.
So I went to go get some food from a local shop, and I came back, and then he wouldn't eat the food, but he was trying to get to another car. And when he was on the way to the other car, I grabbed him, and then I brought him back home. My wife was like, now we have 3 cats. So she wasn't happy about that. And I brought that cat to the vet, and he was basically fine. They gave him a shot, and he's that cat's Simba, and he's good now. So I have 3. I don't think I'll have more than that, but those are all rescues.
Yeah, your wife's now drawn a line in the sand. She's like,
yeah,
this no more.
Yeah.
If there's another cat, then you're out.
Yeah, I got the second cat. She didn't want it, but I said our first cat is too lonely. So he needs a friend.
Yes. It's funny how, like, in relationships like that, there's always the one partner who, like, just wants to. There's a celebrity couple that I follow who, like, the one wants to just rescue everything, and the other one is like, just enough with the animals in our house already.
There's a person that lives a few floors up from me, and they had 14 cats in their
Good
apartment
Lord.
because they rescue all of the ones that are in our area, and they get them neutered and stuff like that, and then take care of them. And they ended up renting another apartment in another building, and they moved most of their cats into that building. So those cats are living like a luxury life right now.
That's crazy. Oh man, that's beautiful actually.
It's hard to see because there's a lot of people here that will just abandon their pets. They'll just buy something because they think it looks good, and then they will abandon it outside. And these cats cannot fend for themselves. Like they'll abandon dogs and cats, and it's difficult to see.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a similar problem here in that we, specifically with dogs, we have like an overpopulation of dogs and homeless dogs and all that. And so one of my previous guests, she was talking about how she was rescuing a duck in New York, which was hilarious. But yeah, they're running into the subway chasing a duck. But, she phoned animal control and she says to them, I've got this duck, it needs to be saved. And they like laughed at her. And I just said to her, like, here, if I contacted them about a duck, they would just put the phone down on me. They've got like way more important things to do. Anyway, that's cool, man. Oh, that's such a cool story. So that actually, hearing about your family, like, almost like stressed me out a bit because I hear about all that you do. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't do this much. Taki must be single and like just living on his own because he's got all this time on his hands. So you have a wife and just one child, or do you have more than one?
Just one child.
Yeah, dude, you are a busy, busy man. That's insane. Yeah, I've got 2 kids. We adopted our kids. I've got 4 dogs. We just got 2 rabbits. My daughter's got the 2 rabbits. They've got a fish tank. So we like a bit animal crazy. So that's why I love to have the pet question in the interview. So yeah, you're just an overachiever. That's annoying. All right. So what do you do? Okay. Is there much time for you to like find stuff to relax? Because obviously this all started because you're a gamer and you love gaming. So that must have been like one of the things, when you were single, you just like sit and play games. What are your things you do to chill?
Yeah, that's the difficult thing about this. Because when the thing that you're doing is the thing that you used to do for fun, it's kind of weird. I still play games, but usually what I will like to do if I have time, which is usually only like right before I go to sleep, I'll read some books or I'll try to watch a show. My free time is very small. So when I have to do something, I have to be intentional about it. So if which is also a difficult thing about having so many gaming devices, because if I just think about like, what do I want to play on, then all of my free time is gone.
Yeah.
To not be intentional about like what you want to do. I play on the Switch a lot, obviously, because I have to test stuff, but I like to play on the Switch and I like that it looks better now that I changed the screen and everything. Switch is the main console that I play on right now. The main physical console that I play on is the FPGA that we sell. And then I have the Steam Deck that I'll use if it's a PC game that I want to play.
Yeah.
But if I'm at the computer, it's hard to like, I have computer games. I have like a huge Steam library, but if I'm at my computer, then it's difficult to not try to do work or something like that.
So then in terms of that, because I do, I want to say a lot of running. I maybe run into the forest. We have a beautiful like mountain with a pretty intense, what you call a trail network. Do you have any outdoor hobbies? Do you get to do that sort of thing much there?
I really like trail running. I used to do it all the time when I lived in the States, and we have a huge trail network pretty close to where I live. Like it's maybe a 5 to 10 minute drive from where I am. I like to do that with someone else that can keep pace, because then it's just boring. The problem is I don't have anybody that's good at trail running here. Yeah. But there are some amazing trails where I live and throughout parts of Shenzhen. Yeah, there's a huge mountain with a very nice view of the port of Shenzhen.
I think I've
and if
actually
you climb to the top, it's nuts.
Yeah, I always used to be amazed because we mentioned before the show that I'm like heavily into drones. And then I would follow these Shenzhen-based drone companies, and they'd be making these little like cheap drones or whatever. And then they would have these incredible vista shots of the city. And I'm like, wow, that looks very illegal. But it seems like the mountains are right there.
If you fly a drone off of the mountain here, you would be above all of the tallest buildings in this area.
That's really pretty. I think that cheap action camera company I was telling you about, I think they are also based there, and they just posted this beautiful shots flying through the clouds. Yeah, it's really pretty there. It's a pity you don't get out. That's why I've got a big dog, and we go running in the mountains. I love it, man. It's just like, that's how I reset my brain.
I'm luckily, the area where I live is not the busiest part of Shenzhen, so it is more relaxing. Like, there's a lot of nature around here. If I lived in the city, then I think it would be very draining. The population density here is crazy. And if you like people, then I think that's fine for you. But I do not like as many people are like that you can see here. That's too much.
Yeah.
It's like your biggest city in America multiplied by like 10.
Yeah. That would freak me out, actually.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's intense, man. I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you are quite an interesting guy in this regard, because you mentioned the States. So are you originally from the States? But then I remember you mentioning once I mean, you must be able to speak Chinese. You're there. So did you grow up in the States?
Yeah, I was born there.
Oh,
I've only lived in China for 5 years.
Wow.
A little over 5 years.
Impressive. Jeepers.
My extent of Chinese is like, there are business, basically the things that are in the industry that I work in. I know the terms that you need to know for the stuff that I do every day, which is not practical. Like, I can't have a conversation with anybody about those things. And then my son speaks Chinese. So I know some of the things that he knows, but he knows way more than I do. So if you add that all up, the amount of Chinese that I have that is useful is not good.
Okay, that's it. I'll take my hat off to you, because it's not easy, because you feel, when you're in that situation, you do feel fairly isolated. But like you say, your son is sort of integrated, and that helps a bit. But yeah, it's not easy. But then again, you say you're not a huge fan of people, so all you need is your wife.
No, I'm not a huge fan of millions of people.
No, like because I think of that sometimes, because I've lived a pretty, what you call it, insular life. Like, I've only lived in South Africa. I speak English. I can speak Afrikaans, one of the local languages. But like, I think to myself, we went to Europe for the first time. I was in a country that didn't speak my language, and it was scary. Like, I really found it isolating and quite frightening. So yeah, I don't know how you manage, but it's impressive.
Yeah, well, thankfully, if you go to school here, you will have a very basic understanding of English. And if those people work in industry, then they will know some English.
Yeah.
If they went to university, they will know a bit more. But there are a lot of people that you can get pretty far, like, without any specific educational background. Like, that you own a factory or something, you need to go to school to do that. So you will have to network with those people, but usually they will have somebody on staff that can, or me knowing Chinese at a business level was not something that I needed to focus on, because me doing that doesn't make anything better. So
yeah,
it's not useful to become proficient.
Yes. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, because I mean,
and there's no time. There's no time to do it. That's the next thing. It's like you have to have time to do it.
Yeah, and it's an intense language. I put it on Duolingo a while back. I mean, I didn't get very far, but I was like, okay, cool. I'm working with all these Chinese people. Maybe I should learn the language.
Reading is way, hats off to anybody that can do both, that didn't have like a language that was similar.
Yeah.
Reading is an entirely different monster.
Yeah.
There was one time where I can still read a lot of stuff. Like I can, but like I know the words, but it's not like, if you know 200 of them, you can't do shit with that. You need to know like 1,000.
Yeah, that's the thing. The characters are just immense. Wow.
But the funny thing is, like, a lot of the stuff is in English here. Like, if you can drive, then the road signs are all in English. So you just need to know the names of the cities that you're going to or anything, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. So this might just be for me, but I'm interested to know. So, I mean, because now you grew up in the States, and now you've actually started a business there in Shenzhen. Now, do you find it more restrictive or open over there? Like I find South Africa is an easy place to start a business because there's less restrictions put on you, whereas my family moved to Australia. It's quite restrictive because there's so many rules. Do you find where you are now is a little bit easier to start a business and be sort of a pioneer with what you're doing than had you started it in the States?
I think the act of actually making a company in America is way easier than it is here to get it started. Depending on what you're doing, as long as that industry is developed in America, it should be an easier process. But
Okay.
this is tech, and most of the tech is here, and most of the suppliers are here. So
Yeah.
that would not be easier if it was in America.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, especially with specifically, I mean, it's why you started what you're doing, because it is all over there. But specifically what you're doing with, all these, like the FPGA and all these things, it's all there and it's all ready for you to take advantage of. It's really cool. Okay, gaming. We talked a little bit about gaming, but and you mentioned the Switch is probably one of your favorites. Are you playing any retro games right now?
I am working through the SNES Final Fantasy games on FPGA
Cool.
right now. I play a lot of Game Boy Color
Okay.
on or off FPGA, either with my original Game Boy Colors that are modded, or there's an FPGA Game Boy Color. I played the Wario Land games, and I'm working through a couple of Pokemon ROM hacks, like Pokemon CC, Pokemon Brown, and there's one more that I think I'm missing. But those are usually like, if I'm traveling, then I will bring the Game Boy Color because it's so small and it's easy to, and the batteries are like, they can last forever. So it's awesome to bring. I don't need to worry about anything.
Yeah. I think I got the Funny Playing one, and I think it's a lithium ion battery actually. And it lasts.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's funny because I never got into any of those games, like the Pokemon games, when I was little. And my son, who is now 9, he will play. There's one of the devices, I think it's a Retro Pocket 3 or something, that he loves to play retro games on. And he's like super into Pokemon, and he specifically likes the Game Boy Color. Like the older the better. I'm so proud.
The cool thing about being young is like, no matter what you show them, they just think it's awesome. They don't know that it's like not, they haven't become jaded that it's not good or not considered good by today's standards.
Yes. Yeah, I suppose if I let him play like Wolfenstein with me and then make him go back to that, he'd probably be
he's like, I'm not doing that. I already saw where this goes. I'm not going back.
Exactly. Oh, that's true. Okay, cool. So you mentioned you do a bit of Steam decking here and there. And I already know the answer to this because I've been following you for years. Your favorite system is what you just mentioned, Game Boy Color and SNES, isn't it? Yeah.
Definitely Super Nintendo. Yeah.
I specifically remember that for when Ambernick released that SNES style, what was it, the 353P?
Yep.
You made a very sort of proud video of, I've been waiting for this for years. I don't know, just that video just sticks in my mind.
The thing that's funny about this market is you will have the idea that you want to do this thing, and then for whatever reason, you don't have time to do it, or you don't have the resources to allocate to making it happen, but they did. And I wanted to do that myself after.
Yes.
There's one other company that did, it was like Pocket Go or something. They did one before, but it wasn't that decent. So I was like, okay, the next trajectory is somebody's going to make that better. And I was like, I want to do it, but we were too busy working on some other projects. So, leave it to Ambernick. If they see something that even has any remote amount of tension to it, then they will copy it, and they will just. I don't know how the hell they do it, because like if you're on the inside, you know how long it takes to do things, and like everything. So it doesn't make sense how they are able to keep up with the speed that they're at. It doesn't.
I agree.
It does not make sense. And I've met them. I know all the people that worked there. Okay. So I can see if I had that same amount of people, this would be almost impossible to do. But then you have to think of the fact that, okay, well, they do the software one time and they're just changing the shell, so it's easier.
Yeah.
And, if people want to buy it, then people want to buy it.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people are getting frustrated, or some of the content creators are getting frustrated
Yeah.
about it. But as long as there's somebody to buy it and somebody to promote it, then they're going to keep doing it.
Yes, but here's the thing, Taki. So like I was starting to get to that point where I was like, what are they doing? And my only concern is if you're going to pump out stuff this quickly, there's going to be quality issues. But so far they haven't. Like every single device they've sent to me has been pretty amazing. I wasn't a huge fan of the 40XX, the H1, the horizontal one, but that was just a preference thing. It was pretty well made. The 40XXV is beautiful. Like they just keep pumping out these things. And what frustrates me is that they are great. I'm not a huge fan of the operating system they've got for the H700, but yeah, that they just keep pumping them out at speed and there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with them.
Well, I wouldn't say there's nothing wrong. And I don't think you can say that for any company. Like
Okay.
Every company has some problem, some oversight issue.
Yeah.
It just depends on like how big of a percentage is that.
Yes.
So I don't think they have anything that's wide. I think the biggest issue that they had was like the battery in the 35XXSP or whatever the model name is, where it was, overheating or people were having it. But I think that it is common sense. Like the more you're doing, the less you can focus on each individual. So even if you get something that seems decent, it could have been better if that was like the only thing they were focusing on for, let's say, like a 3-month period or a 4-month period, but it's not. They're like doing 10 things at the same time.
Agreed. Yeah,
So
no, I agree with you. Yeah.
something is going to get lost. And you just hope that it's not something that is super important.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, the 406V just arrived from one of the retailers to my desk, and it's great because I was a big fan of the 405V, but it just feels like there's slightly less love put into it. Like the sticks could have been recessed. Actually, my LED light isn't working. So, maybe there are a few cracks in the works there.
And it is also like very easy to cherry pick the devices that are going to get sent to a distributor or reviewer. And it doesn't have to be like, these ones are the ones that pass benchmarks faster or whatever. It's just like, these are the ones that pass the factory QA, and these are the ones that we also checked again in the office. Those are the ones that are going to go to the reviewers.
Have you seen Anbinic's controller that they've now busy? They've shown it at a few shows, and there's a few pictures out of it.
I think it's like an 8-bit controller that they just like changed the faceplate for or something. Yes. It doesn't seem like it's entirely original.
No, so it is literally a copy of the 8-bit do, which kind of pisses me off because.
But I don't know that 8-bit didn't like license it to them. So,
maybe.
I mean, it's entirely possible that they just fully cloned it because it's Anbernic, but. I think it may be licensed because 8-bit does license some of their stuff. So
yes, they do that a lot, and they're quite good with it. If that's the case, then it might actually be really nice. So we'll see. I don't know if you saw Retroids. They've released an orange color, and do you know about this?
Yeah, of course.
The faceplate was the wrong color.
Yeah.
I posted on my Twitter. I said this is why I never recommend pre-orders, because it creates a culture of like the company is now under pressure to please people because they've now paid the money and we've got to get these things out as quick as possible. These things are going to happen because of the way that the system is set up. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, I can just say my feelings with my own company about pre-order. We do have something that is on pre-order right now. So I am very open that I don't want to do pre-orders or campaign funding or anything like that unless I actually need to do it. So, and I tell people explicitly, like, it would have to be a cash flow reason for me to want to do it or need to do it or some other reason. So the thing that we have on pre-order right now is not a cash flow issue. It's just like we have too many different versions of this because there are 8 different Switch Lite bezel colors. It almost has to be like made to order. So when I can get the exact combination that I need, that I know how many screens that I need to assemble. And that is easier to do if you have a pre-order. Pi, I don't have a cash flow issues at all.
Yeah.
People buy it, they buy it. If they don't buy it, they don't buy it. It doesn't matter. We don't need the money for that thing to exist. And when it sells, it's going to sell. The only bad part is some people want that to be a pre-order because they want to know no matter what, I'm going to get my thing. Because it was really difficult for people to get it in the first go around. So they just said, I would just rather just pay it for it now, and then it's going to show up in the mail. Then I don't need to like try to F5 my keyboard until it breaks to try to get it. And I was like, I understand, but the community doesn't want that.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing is like people always want dates for stuff, and it's like, if I tell you a date, it's not going to be. It will be instantly wrong. Like the second it comes out of my my lips. So I would rather just not say anything. It's not ready.
Yeah.
Like I can't do anything, and there's nothing I can do to make things go faster. At a point, you can't do anything. There are too many moving parts. To product development that can get in the way. But back to the pre-ordering thing, it is kind of dangerous because if you are promising a shipment date, then you are held accountable to that. And if something goes wrong and you have set up some kind of system where you will penalize yourself for missing that date, then you are incentivizing yourself to cut corners.
Exactly.
And if you cut corners, the product will become worse.
Yep. Exactly.
And I don't know if that's what happened in this case at all. I have no connection to that at all. But the bad thing is it's not good that it happened. And I think for any company, if somebody does something bad, you should be able to say like what they did is bad. But I think for this one, I saw like some people had like valid criticism about the situation, but then they were like getting attacked by the people that,
by the community
didn't get negatively impacted by this, but don't want the brand to be harmed. You need to hold any company accountable.
Exactly.
Or stuff like this will happen again. And it could be, luckily in this situation, it's not that bad. I mean, it is kind of bad because you have to ship the thing back to get it ultimately fixed. But
yeah, it's not a huge issue, and they are handling it quite well. And I mean, everyone I deal with is lovely, but at the end of the day, I feel a responsibility as a content creator to not be too friendly about the situation. Be like, it is bad. Someone didn't go and open the box and check. Like that is a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Okay.
And that, how do I say this? It is possible that could happen, like that you just get the box and you ship the box, right? But if somebody opens the box, then you would obviously know it's not supposed to look like that. But it's kind of weird that it could get that far.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I read somebody that said they're operating on very thin margins, so it's like, it's understandable, but actually you have to, when you're in production, I'm going to do devil's advocate. When you're in production and you assign or you delegate responsibilities to somebody else, you are hoping that that person will do what you are saying so that way you don't have to worry about it.
Yes.
So for my products, if I have them assembled somewhere else and then they show up to my office for shipment, I have delegated the responsibility to make sure the thing that's in that box is accurate.
Yes.
If I have to open that box on the shipping line, then it's going to slow down my speed.
I see.
So the problem is when there are mistakes, it's hard to assign blame to someone or to get some kind of compensation for something being wrong.
Yeah.
If somebody gets one of my products and the wrong thing is in the box, or there's supposed to be 3 boards, but they have 2 of the same board and they're missing like the third one, which actually happened for someone.
Yeah.
That happened and it's someone's fault. And I have to pay for that fault. But I feel like the responsibility should be shared. And in most cases, it's not shared. So it makes me want to do more things in-house and not outsource.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the thing that happened with the orange screen would not happen.
I hear you. Let's bring this to a close with some quickfire questions. All right. So what is your absolute, you've been out of the, well, not out of the YouTube game, but you haven't been too focused on YouTube lately, but what's the absolute worst YouTube comment you've had so far?
Can it be something that's like bad? I mean,
yeah.
And you can have people that say like,
Sorry, yes.
You can have people that like do death threats. Like it can go as far as you want.
Good grief.
So I think that would probably be it. That would take it.
Death threats.
Yeah. Of
Dude,
course.
that is the absolute worst I've ever. Have you actually had a death threat on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, of course. I've had people
grief.
email me, tell me that they're going to kill me. Yeah, sure.
That is another whole nother level. Okay, that is a first.
Oh, yeah. There are people that really like companies, and if I say something bad about the company, then,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, you have gone out and been very open about how you feel about things, and that will spark certain feelings. Bloody hell. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know people were that crazy. Okay. All right. So I wrote you a desert island normal game. So like, if I gave you a Steam Deck and I said you can play one game until they rescue you, what would it be?
And I have unlimited power.
Yes, yeah. The battery will last forever.
I like Core Keeper, so I would play that. That has a lot of replayability, so I could play that until someone rescues me as long as I have power.
Core Keeper game. All right. I like to Google these games that people tell me. All right. Oh, that looks fun. Okay, cool. All right. And then your favorite desert island retro game. So like an old game.
Donkey Kong Country 1.
Okay, well, I don't have to Google that one. Cool.
Donkey Kong Country 1.
Cool. And then oldest fond. So I like this question. I have a wonderful memory of my earliest memory of gaming. What is your oldest or fondest childhood gaming memory?
I have, so not the earliest, definitely not the earliest, but I remember when Crash Bandicoot Warped came out, and my friend's birthday party, he got a PlayStation and he got Crash Bandicoot Warped. And he had like 10 people over, and we were all playing that, just taking turns beating the entire game. And I remember thinking like, this game is amazing. There are so many awesome things. And I didn't have a PlayStation at the time. I only had a Nintendo 64. No, I didn't even have a Nintendo 64. I had a Super Nintendo, but I had friends that had a Nintendo 64 and a PlayStation. And I just remember thinking like, this thing is so amazing. This game is awesome.
Yeah.
So I think that's like my favorite one. But my first system was an NES, so I've played those games, but I think that one would probably be my favorite.
Okay, great. And this is just a nice one to finish off with. What's the thing that you've done career-wise that you're most proud of?
There is a project that I was trying to complete before I started Retro Remake that I am the most proud of because of what it does, but it's not done yet. I would say that is the thing that I'm the most proud of. There are some things that I could do that I'm more proud of for Remake, but they're not ready yet. So that one is the thing that I'm the most proud of, but it's not public yet. There's a whole video series that's going to be about it, teaching product development and follow like the whole journey. That's the thing that I like the most because it's educational, and I hope that it can inspire people to get into this field in some capacity because they will have the ability to contribute and they'll be able to learn. That's the thing that I like the most.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, wonderfully vague, but also something for people to look out for. Taki, that was great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting, but that was wonderful. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for being on the show, Taki. We will see you around on the YouTubes.
Thank you for having me. It was a good conversation.
Cool. Thanks, man.